Brendan, how's the break been, and what have you reflected on during it?
Yeah, well, obviously when you lose a derby game like that, and especially the manner at the end, so yeah, the disappointment lingers on a little bit longer, of course, but yeah, we were obviously disappointed with the result. However, what I can't forget is what this team has done over the course of the season. You know, that we've been tremendous through large parts of the season, and we sit 13 points clear. We 8 games to go, possibility of a Scottish Cup final, and we're in a really good place. But of course, there's always disappointment when you lose one of those games.
Given that, then, how do you find the balance between focusing on that real positives that you mentioned there, but also maybe addressing some of the things you might need to address after that game?
Well, it's always the way. You know, whenever you lose a game, there's a setback, there's a disappointment, and then you have to bounce back. And obviously, of course, when I analyse the game and I look at it away from the context of actually being in it, then that obviously makes it easier to figure out, because I think in both of those Rangers games, Ibrox and at home, we haven't started well at all. And whether it is a subconscious thing, I'm not sure. You know, it's been 13 points clear, 16 points clear. Whether that does have a deep effect on how you enter into the game, it shouldn't, because our mantra is always to start very quick, and in lots of games we do. But we didn't, and credit to Rangers, because they did. They got 2-0 up, and then we had to bounce back. But from that second half, we shouldn't lose the game. It's as simple as that. We get back into it, 2-0, 2 each, 15 minutes to go. Good in the second half, not giving away much, and then we concede the goal. So the analysis is pretty easy, but that's my responsibility to make us better the next time.
Players have been away on international duty. How is Kasper Schmeichel in terms of the injury and how long he'll be out for?
Well, we don't know how long he'll be out. We're just still waiting to hear on that. He's obviously got some issues with his shoulder. I spoke to him the other day, and he's okay. He's obviously disappointed that they lost their second game, but in the main, he's okay.
A lot of comments came his way as well about his performance, and even some that got a bit personal as well over in Denmark. What have you made of that, and then have you had to say anything to him?
Well, one, I haven't seen it, so I don't know what was said, but all I know with Kasper is, and the reason I brought him here, knowing him so well, is because he's still a top class keeper. You know, I think if you look at his performance level for us over the course of the season, he's been absolutely brilliant. You know, and in big games, he's made big performances, and for me, he still has that hunger and that desire to play. So when criticism comes as a coach, manager, player, whatever it comes, sometimes it's not civil. Sometimes, like you say, it's personal, but sadly. But what I know with Kasper is he's an outstanding goalkeeper. He's been brilliant for this club since he's come in. He's been an incredible ambassador and performer for his country. And I know, like I said, in my spell at Leicester and here working with him, how proud he is to play for Denmark and represent Denmark, and how much he wants to win with Denmark. So, but sadly as well, sometimes as a goalkeeper, you're in there on your own in some ways. But I know his character and mentality, and I know how determined he'll be to come back.
Brendan, on the flip side of that, is it a chance for Sinisalo to impress this weekend and perhaps a few weekends going forward? Yeah,
that's Phil will come in and play. He's a very talented young goalkeeper. That's why we brought him here. It was very, very good pre-season, been outstanding in training, and what we've seen, I've seen him grow and develop. But of course, with every player, it's when you're out in the arena of Celtic and beyond that, that's when you're measured and when you're judged. So, but I've got no qualms of putting them in.
In terms of other injury news, Cal McGregor training today. We spoke to Paolo Bernardo yesterday. He said he's ready and available. Can they both start at the weekend, and how big a boost is it to have both of them back
Well, I think availability is important. It was probably one of the things in the last game as well, where the shortest we'd been probably all season. But we've Palo's back, as you say. James Forrest is back in the squad. Austin Truss will be back in the squad. Callum back in the squad. Scalesy's training individually, but he will be probably not ready. He can't, because of his operation. He can't. He cannot play until leading into Kilmarnock. So, but he's training individually, and apart from that, the squad in a good place.
So depending with Casper, I was difficult to say, but is it possible that his season's over?
Don't know. Yeah, just waiting to hear on the scan back. So yeah, I don't know any more than that.
Brendan, one of the things that's impressed about Casper is one of the many things this season is how good he is with his feet and how quickly he can pick out a man and get the ball back in play. Well, you have to, Sinisalo, is he the same? Will you have to look to change how you play, or can he come in and be a like-for-like replacement in that respect?
Well, that's the idea. When we profile a player to bring him in, he has to have a certain level of competence with his feet. Because, like I say, it's how we play. Just the wrong move, that one. That's just he's competent with his feet. Of course, you'll always have different levels of players, but the modern game in the big teams, the goalkeeper, and it's a demand that we have, that they have to have that comfort with the feet. So he certainly has that.
The teams in your time here, Rodgers, here, have tended to surge through the line. Get the chance to go on something. I think you've said before, this is the time where you've shown yourself as Celtic players, and the prizes have been handed out. Is that a message you give to them now? Go routes.
Yeah, absolutely. We had because it was the first time this morning that everyone was back, so we had a debrief on the Rangers game, draw a line under it, and then move on. And now, as I said, we're into this business end now. 8 games to go, possibly 2 games in the cup, so maximum 10 games. Now we're ready for the final push. And like I said, it's understanding the disappointment, and we all get it, and I felt it as well. It lingered for me longer than any defeat does, and but then the job is to lead, and now the job is to bounce back, and that's what this club have been brilliant at. So we have to take our medicine. We now focus on in the great position that we're in, and that starts tomorrow.
The aftermath of that match was very much dominated with the Czerny celebration and the probe and what that came with it. I know the club weren't happy and referred to the authorities. I just wonder your own personal thoughts on, in that kind of powder keg match, what you made of those celebrations.
My honest take on it is I know the club and that are dealing with it. 2, I haven't seen anything, because from after the game I went away. When you lose a game of that magnitude, you don't read anything, you don't listen to anything, you get away out of the way. But I obviously heard what had happened, and you can't do that. That's the reality. I understand the jubilation, and Rangers players have every right to celebrate with their supporters. You come to Celtic Park like it would be when you go to Ibrox. You win a game of that magnitude, you celebrate. But not in that way.
Brendan, Barry Ferguson spoke this yesterday. He said he didn't have a problem with that. If one of your players had done that, would you have had an issue with that?
Yeah, I would, yeah. What's respect in it? I think it's a lack of respect if a player runs up a touchline and he's squirting a water bottle in supporter's face. I certainly wouldn't want my players to do it.
You also think there's a safety issue as well. It's not just respect. It's players have to set an example. It's a very it's a very emotive fixture, and as we've seen in the last couple of years, a lot can go on in it in the stands and on the pitch.
Yeah, listen, I think
a responsibility to conduct themselves in a certain manner.
Yeah, and in the main, in this games have always been involved in, they do. That's the reality of it. And listen, it works both ways. There's a lot comes into players as well, from the stands to coaches, managers, and players. But I think we all know there's a line that that we shouldn't cross. And like as I said, it is a very emotive game. It's an amazing fixture, and I thought it was great to have the fans back in. I think that gave it that extra bit as well. But I just think there is lines we can antagonise, because in this fixture in particular that can lead to an issue.
Just a word on your UEFA charge, Brendan, after the Munich game. Did that come as a surprise to you?
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I'd read about it, so I think it's one of these ones that it's I wasn't aware that we were doing anything different to what we normally did, but sometimes the coming out at half time is a wee bit stricter than normal, what you would have normally at home. So, but yeah, we'll be losing sleep over it.
But there's been some chat this week about potentially a new contract potentially for Isaac. I'd imagine that's something, if it was possible, you'd back.
Absolutely, if there is that possibility to do that. I've spoken with Dermot and the club, and spoken with the player, and hopefully in the future that is something that can be done. He's been absolutely brilliant for us this season. Wherever he's played, however he's played, he's had an amazing season. So of course, you would love to tie up one of your best players.
You get the feeling from the chat you've had with him that he wants to stay here. How long with that?
He doesn't give away much, other than saying he's very happy. So, but I think I look and see how he plays. But listen, I'm also under no illusions here that there's very few players that are going to do what Callum McGregor and that does, and some of these players, they have a lifetime here. Jamesy Forrest. Some players, especially these players that are from other parts of the world, and they might fancy a change, and it's nothing to do with Celtic or the club or the support. It's just life. But all I can do is judge when he's here. He's been brilliant here. He's still contracted well here to the club. But of course, there has been chats around improving that for him, because he's grown into one of the top players here.
You touched on it. You've really earned maybe an improvement.
Oh, there's no doubt. There's absolutely no doubt. He earns every penny, and like we feel as a club, he deserves more. So we want to do that, but of course it has to work both ways.
Is that a case where a footballer is just a good fit for a certain club as well? Is that maybe some other players maybe, like you say, like look to move away for a change, it maybe doesn't work out as well? Is that something you can stress to players sometimes, that obviously the fans love him here, and he's in the form of his life as well?
So yeah, but sometimes you don't realise that till you're gone. Sadly, that's I think we've seen it, and also what I know from my own personal experience and moving away is that you sometimes will feel you go into a more better league or better wages or whatever it is, but the adulation you get as a Celtic player is unrivaled. The what they feel when they're here. Very, very many of them don't ever get that again, and that's part of the loss. You go away, you'll earn more money, you'll play in maybe a top league, but you don't quite get that feeling that you would get here. So, and sometimes, like I say, you don't know that as a player until you've gone. But at this moment in time, it's I'm so happy he is here, and he's consistently playing so well, and hopefully can finish off a great season for him and the team, and finish well.
What about Hearts? How difficult do you feel they will be in the test they'll pose you?
Yeah, I think it'll be a really good game. I think after a really difficult start for Hearts this season, they've obviously moved up the table well. They've settled in well, and now they're up in that top six, and they want to stay there. So yeah, I think it'll be a really difficult game for us. They've moved to a diamond in the structure and how they're playing, so that always, and I haven't played a diamond before myself, I know it gives you attacking options in the game. So we have to respect that quality, but for me, we're at home, and and we need to impose our authority on the game from the very first whistle rather than wait for 20 minutes or 30 minutes to do that. So that's on us tomorrow to do that and make it really, really difficult for Hearts.